Our boy then thinks that this will be more work than he expected. Suddenly, the goblin turns to face him. But before it can attack, the boy lands a strike and throws it back with force. We see that both the monster and Hans are lying on the ground. Standing up, the blonde boy shouts to ask why the boy is doing this to him, and he replies it's because the boy is weak. Therefore, he cannot be his servant if he's just a burden. Handing him a healing potion, Zich says he needs to train so he can protect himself, then warns him that the goblin was only knocked out and should wake up soon. Some time passes since the warning, and we can see several empty potion bottles on the ground. This time, Hans is standing, holding the sword like a warrior, ready to face the small monster in front of him. More confident, the boy charges forward at high speed, making the goblin smile at his attitude, which was kind of dumb since the monster, besides blocking the attack, also manages to hit the boy with its club. Annoyed, the servant stares into the creature's red eyes, which are also smiling along with its teeth, showing that he's made some improvement. The young man manages to dodge his opponent's strike with plenty of agility and precision. Zich widens his eyes, surprised by what he sees, while thinking that even though he's a novice, the boy seems to have some talent. The goblin keeps facing the wrong direction, not understanding where the boy went, then feels that he's about to be struck hard. Hans appears behind it, with blood in his eyes, and plunges his sword right in the middle of the little monster's head. Seeing his opponent fall, the boy sighs heavily, then looks at his own hands, wondering if he finally won. When he sees that he did, he starts jumping and shouting, feeling like a champion. Approaching, Zich hands him another potion bottle, then says that the boy exceeded his expectations. With a wide smile, he says it's all thanks to the boy. Suddenly, something catches the blonde's attention, and he drops the drink on the ground. He then asks our boy to look to the side. We see a horde of monsters furiously approaching. They're more goblins, prowling non-stop. Our boy watches them coldly, while his servant starts sweating cold again. Taking a few small steps forward, the protagonist crouches and picks up some rocks, then throws them all toward the monsters, leaving the blonde boy terrified and confused. The stones hit the goblins right on their heads, and we can see they get even angrier than before. But Zich remains standing without showing any reaction. Looking at Hans, he asks why he's so surprised if the fight is just beginning. Curious, the young man asks what the boy is talking about, but his master simply tells him to look behind. Upon seeing giant orcs, the servant turns completely pale, while our boy tells him not to worry because they have plenty of potions. Night quickly falls and the stars appear in the sky. We see that all the monsters have been defeated and the boys are resting by a campfire. Zich observes his servant completely passed out and snoring non-stop, remembering the conversation they had earlier when he asked why Floral protected the boy so much, and what his relationship with the woman was. Hans replies that his grandmother was the Countess's nanny, so she has liked him since he was a child. The protagonist then says he remembers his mother tormenting a servant because he was the grandson of Floral's nanny. Leaving the boy embarrassed and curious, our young man asks what he thinks about his late mother, and he replies that the woman was a good person. She took very good care of all the servants, besides always treating the Count with respect. She was very kind and warm to everyone around her. Back to the present moment, while analyzing Hans' lie, Zich realizes that no one liked him at home because of his mother. Considering the way she treated everyone, even he feels a little bad for his father Floral and Greg, even though it's something he has no fault in. Suddenly, the sound of what seems to be a carriage catches his attention. Standing up, he wakes his servant with light kicks. The servant wakes up and says it's not morning yet, but the protagonist warns that something is approaching. Grabbing his sword, Hans asks if they are goblins or orcs. Soon after, he spots that it is actually a carriage. Zich puts him in front to lead the way. Sweating nervously again, the boy asks if it might be a merchant, but his master denies it because the sound of the vehicle's wheels is too soft for someone like that. The boy then says it can only be travelers like them, but the young man replies that no one would be traveling through the forest at that hour. Hearing the noise getting closer, the dude stays still, wondering who it could possibly be. Suddenly, footsteps approach the boys, and we can see that they belong to two knights and a horse. Intrigued, the protagonist wonders in his mind if they are holy knights. Someone begins to step out of the carriage and announces that they also plan to camp there that night. Our boy widens his eyes upon seeing who is speaking. The young woman, removing her hood, states that she is a follower of Karuna, and her name is Ain Lubella, the Saint of Mercy. Zich quickly remembers that the young woman is the saint who belongs to Karuna, the same one who helped the blonde knight kill him in his previous life. His biggest surprise is that he didn't expect to meet her there. Another person approaches and says it is a pleasure to meet the young man. It is Bellery Wag, Ain's assistant and candidate for Karuman sainthood. Our boy quietly states that the man is the killing machine of Tasmia's troop. Then he shakes the man's hand because he promised to be a good person, which includes building different relationships with people from his past life. Being friendly, the young man says that there is plenty of space for everyone to camp there, and Bellery thanks him. Looking at Hans, the protagonist says that he should greet them as well. In the blink of an eye, the boy is already kneeling at the young woman's feet, introducing himself and showing he is a true suck-up. Quickly, the knights who accompany the newly arrived duo start setting up a large tent. One of the men then asks someone to hold one of the poles. Ain steps forward to help but is stopped by Hans. who says he will do the job with a cheeky smile on his face, and with nothing else to do, the young woman simply thanks him. Wasting no time, Zich's servant starts helping the knights, even though he is small compared to them. Smiling, the protagonist says that his servant really seems excited, which is totally understandable, since Ain is incredibly beautiful, and Glenzanard would never choose ugly women to be part of his team. Pulling the young man out of his thoughts, someone politely asks for permission. Very close to him, the young woman asks if she can sit by his side for a while. The protagonist says yes, and the saint thanks him for his kindness, and for letting her and her companions camp there. Being modest, the young man says it was no big deal, but his face shows slight discomfort with her getting so close. The young woman stares at him, noticing that the young man's about to say something. As expected, Zich asks what she is doing there, and she replies that she is just traveling the land. And whenever she finds those who are in pain, she offers prayers of blessings. Our boy says that she is doing a good job, but Ain says that she is only fulfilling her duty as a follower of Karuna. She then asks what he is doing there. Our boy replies that he is looking for a way to be a good person. Suddenly, a spark goes off in his mind, and he asks the young woman if she can tell him what should be done to be a good person. The girl looks intrigued, but the young man says that she is probably the best person he could ask that. Reflecting for a moment, the saint says there are many ways to be a good and kind person. She then asks if the young man has any special abilities. He says he is very good at using physical strength. Ain then says that he can use that strength to help people in need. Confident, Zich says that in that case, he will start looking for that kind of person tomorrow. The next day, everyone goes out to walk around the city. Accompanying the young woman, Bellry says that all the shops seem to be under construction, and she agrees. The man then informs her that he has received an order from Karuman and needs to fulfill it. Ain smiles and wishes him luck on the mission. He asks the young woman to take care, and she says she will do that. But later, somewhere else, we see that the girl is feeling distressed. Upon entering what seems to be an alley, she tells her knights that she heard a scream coming from there, and they say they will check it out. But suddenly, Ain sees something that shocks her. We see a young man getting beaten by someone, accompanied by others who are just watching. Approaching, one of the knights orders the aggressor to stop, while the saint can only think about how Zich could be capable of something like this. After the commotion, the two talk, and she says that she asked him to help people in need. So she doesn't understand why the boy went to help troublemakers. The protagonist states that he did that because the people seemed like they needed something to correct them. The girl orders that from now on, he must make sure to help vulnerable people and not use physical force, starting with an apology to the boy he hurt. Sitting at the table with a swollen face, the boy says he is fine. Introducing himself, the young man says his name is Soon, and that he is very grateful to Ain for saving him. Curious, the girl asks why he was being beaten, and if Zich and the other boys were trying to take his shop. Confirming, the boy says there is a group called Siren Corporation that is bribing people, including the mayor, to get what they want. But even if his shop seems old to others, it is very precious to him, because it is full of memories of his grandfather and father. So when he refused to give up the place, the group turned violent. Now he no longer knows what to do. Sympathetic to the situation, the young woman says that Soon doesn't need to worry anymore, since she will meet with the mayor of Porti immediately to resolve the situation. One of her knights then warns that Karuman followers should not get involved in politics. But Ain says that as a follower of Karuna, she cannot ignore that and promises to solve everything. The young woman quickly leaves the place and her guards run after her to accompany her, while Zich feels that something is going to go wrong. The next day, walking around the city, Hans asks what the protagonist is thinking. He replies that he is thinking about what the saint said about helping the vulnerable because he feels that she doesn't even understand that properly. Pinching his servant's cheeks, he says he is also worried about the fact that the young woman hasn't returned to the camp. Suddenly, the two boys spot a group of people looking at a notice posted on a wall about someone who is wanted. Curious, they decide to get closer, and hear the people commenting that the person in the portrait murdered the deputy mayor. Zich's eyes quickly widen, because the person drawn on the poster is Ain. Hans is shocked by what he sees, while our boy is certain that something is wrong. The townspeople keep saying that they heard around that the young woman is a witch from Karuman, and that the city is in chaos because of the curse she cast, so it's better to hide at home during the night. Everyone starts running desperately to lock themselves in their homes, afraid of what is coming next. Worried, the protagonist's servant asks what he thinks happened. Our boy then says that something seems strange, so it's better if they leave too. Sometime later, the two are walking through the city, which is completely silent since nightfall. Zich tries to remember if something like this happened in his past life, but concludes that he has no memory of a curse being cast on Porti or of Ain murdering someone. His doubt is whether the events changed because he met the saint in this life. Suddenly, his servant calls his attention, warning that someone is following them. A leg that doesn't seem to be human approaches, and we can see that the creature is making strange noises. We discover that it is a zombie woman. Terrified, the blonde boy asks if that is really an undead, while our boy, without hesitation, charges at the monster, eliminating it in less than 5 seconds with his sword. On his knees, Hans asks why something like that was walking through the city. The protagonist then says he doesn't know, but something definitely doesn't seem right. Somewhere else, someone says they are relieved that there were no victims. With lit torches, two guards tell the boys that they will take care of the monster's body and thank them for their help. One of the men then says it's better for them to go inside and hands his torch to the blonde boy, warning them to be careful because they might be affected by the witch's curse. The guards leave, taking the undead with them. While the protagonist's servant asks if he really thinks Ain is a witch, the young man replies no, because he is sure that the real culprit behind the incident is using the young woman as a disguise. Curious, the blonde boy asks how he can be so sure. Zich says it's because Ain is, but he can't finish his sentence. His servant then questions if he knows something about the young woman that he isn't revealing. Our boy then bluffs and claims that you can tell just by looking at her face that she's a good person. Suddenly, he hears something, and quickly turns around to see what it is. Confused, Hans asks what the young man heard, but our boy doesn't say anything and just starts running in the opposite direction from home, quickly arriving at a structure not far from there. Appearing at the door, he finds Ain and asks what the young woman is doing in that place, while Hans stands there with his mouth wide open, seeing the girl cornered and hiding alone. All together, they return home. After a bath, the scene approaches and the protagonist asks if the clothes he lent her fit. The young woman confirms they do. Our boy then says that his servant went out to buy dinner and will be back soon. Then he asks where the knights who were supposed to protect the girl are. Ain just lowers her head and the boy asks if the men went on another mission. The young woman answers that it's all her fault. Tears start falling from her eyes as she says the knights are gone because of her. Without showing much reaction, the protagonist hands her the wanted poster with her face on it and asks if what happened has anything to do with what's written there. Desperate, the saint says she is not a witch. Zich then says that he knows that, surprising the young woman with his faith in her innocence. He continues, saying he knows she wouldn't do bad things, but he would like to know what happened to her since the last time they saw each other. Ain then says that she will tell him. We return to the fateful day when she managed to solve the shop boy's issue successfully, because unlike the mayor, who seemed like a greedy man, the deputy mayor was very trustworthy and responsible. That's when the man behind the mayor said they should offer a meal to the guests. So the mayor, after some hesitation, agreed to prepare dinner for everyone, even though he didn't really want to stay. Ain says that if it wasn't too much trouble, she would accept the invitation, because the Holy Knights were very, very hungry. Her only mistake was deciding to go see the mayor out of nowhere in the middle of the night. After the meal, they went to thank the man for his kindness, but upon entering his office, they realized something terrible had happened. Her knights quickly stood in front to protect her, while the mayor, surrounded by bodies, said that she saw something she shouldn't have. Shocked, one of the knights shouted, asking Ain to look at the back of the room, where the statue of Belu was floating, surrounded by a purple light. Ain then says that the mayor is a puppet of Belu. Smiling, the man says she finally figured it out. Nervous, the girl asks what he is plotting. Suddenly, the people on the floor start getting up, and the mayor reveals that he is offering her as a sacrifice to the statue. The zombies charge at the trio. The knights quickly begin to counterattack, protected by the saint's power. But Ain realizes that there are too many undead in that place, and that she probably won't be able to handle them all. One of her knights turns and asks if the young woman is okay, quickly realizing that one of the zombies was coming at her from behind. The man urgently asks her to look back, but seeing that there wouldn't be enough time, he decides to throw her backward and take the lead, taking the blow directly in her place. Sitting down, Zich asks if the young woman is really talking about Belu's followers. Confirming, Ain says the group served the evil god, desiring destruction and chaos and committing attacks in his name. Intrigued, the protagonist asks what they are trying to do in Porty. The young woman says she thinks they are planning a ritual, because she saw that the inscription on the statue behind the mayor said, "I offer the city to Belu." Our boy shows that he knows what it's about, and his friend asks what he is hiding. In response, the young man states that there are probably hidden statues around the city, and that the book the mayor was holding must be the catalyst, the one that activates their power. The saint then says that after escaping from the mansion, she tried to seek help at the Karuman temple, but the city was closed and she couldn't contact anyone, starting to cry again. The young woman says that she needs to stop the ritual, and Zich says he will help her with that. Then he asks if that counts as a good deed. Ain says yes, but that she's worried because she might be putting him in danger. Our boy then asks her not to worry about him, saying that the following night they will go to the mayor's mansion, so the girl should go back to her room and get some rest. When he opens the door, the protagonist discovers that Hans was listening to the conversation, but he blatantly denies it. Not caring, Zich says that actually he has a job for him, whispering the plan very quietly into his ear, far from Ain. Whatever it is, the servant is left in shock. The next day, during the night, we see two men lying unconscious in the backyard of the mayor's mansion, while our boy and his ally enter the house through one of the balconies. Carrying the young woman, the boy asks if she's okay, and she says yes. The two quickly move through the hallways, stopping in front of the door where the saint last met the mayor. The young woman says that the statue was there, and the protagonist states that he can feel something evil behind the doors. Without waiting any longer, the duo enters the room, finding the mayor facing one of the windows surrounded by purple light. Ain then says that it was the man who killed the deputy mayor. Moving forward, Zich charges to attack, cornering the man with his sword, but he shows no reaction, which confuses the boy. Worried, the saint asks him to be careful because undead may appear. Placing his foot on the mayor's back and pushing him, the protagonist says that she accused the wrong person, because the man who just fell to the ground is not the mastermind. Ain is shocked because she was sure she was right. Suddenly, a purple aura starts coming out of the mayor's mouth. Smiling, Zich says they just found the real culprit behind all the chaos. The person approaches and says he didn't expect the young woman to return on her own. We discover that the real villain is actually the deputy mayor, who was never dead. Shocked, the young woman says she was sure the man was no longer among them, quickly realizing that he is, holding the book that possesses Belu's power. With a dark look, the deputy mayor says that the book is the key to the offering ritual, and the girl asks how he got it. Zich says that now he understands the situation and that the mayor must have been following someone else's orders until he was taken down, being just a puppet, not a follower of the evil god. And the one who controlled everything from the beginning was the deputy mayor himself. Sweating, and says that this cannot be true. Ben asks what the man did to the holy knights. Laughing, he says she doesn't need to worry about that anymore, since their bodies became fish food. His only doubt now is about who the boy next to the young woman is and if he's some kind of secret guard. Zich then reveals that he has nothing to do with Karuaman. Intrigued, the deputy mayor asks what he is doing there then. The boy replies that he doesn't need to explain anything to someone who believes in a fish head. Annoyed, the man asks if he really said that, because he's asking to be punished by Belu. Smiling, our boy asks why he would be punished by a fish head, awakening the man's fury, who declares that he will pay for his blasphemy until his last breath. The undead appear, and the deputy mayor screams, ordering them all to finish the boy and keep Ain alive. Without hesitation, the creatures charge to attack. To help, the saint blesses Zich, while asking him to be careful. With his skill activated and protected by the young woman, the boy is able to beautifully dodge the strikes, counterattacking one by one, with his sword glowing blue. Seeing his minions being defeated, the man holding the book thinks that this can't be possible, since no one should be able to annihilate undead so easily. Meanwhile, the protagonist realizes that he has recovered some of his mana. Mocking, he asks the man if he isn't going to summon any more monsters. Trembling with rage, the deputy mayor says that the boy's arrogance won't help him here because the preparations for the ritual are already complete. Zich then says that he doubts it, leaving his opponent stunned by such audacity. With a smirk, the boy states that he will find and destroy all the statues hidden around the city. The man says he won't be able to do that, but our boy says that a member of Karuaman surely can, revealing that he knows the deputy mayor protected the statues up to a certain point. Ain steps closer and asks if that's really possible. Confirming, the boy says that after destroying all the statues in Porti, they only need to return to the mansion and destroy the last one. Furious, the follower of Belu says that he is nothing but filthy trash, then orders the undead to rise and attack again. Quickly, Zich draws his sword once more and strikes the creatures non-stop, leaving his opponent even angrier and his ally worried. Moving to Ain's side, he picks the young woman up in his arms, asking her not to move so she won't get hurt, because they are getting the hell out of there. Sweating, the girl says the entrance is blocked. The protagonist starts running toward the window while she asks him to wait a minute. Without hesitation, the boy crashes through the glass with his back, making sure his friend doesn't get hurt, while the deputy mayor concludes that he has lost the duo. So it's better to review his evil plan. The next day, someone shouts through the city while spreading posters warning that the witch Ain killed the mayor. The residents quickly gather and pick up the papers to throw them on the ground. Shocked by hearing such news,